You're starting to dislike renovation. Pretty spicy assumption here for somebody who just bought a house less than a year ago. Some viewers seem to think that I just watch too much HGTV and am some dumb blonde that jumped into this without any notion of what she was doing. If you're an adult and you can't handle the fact that I swear, you might not enjoy it on my channel long term. I have other things I would so much rather be spending time on than putting on makeup. Asking me to change my content to suit your personal tastes is not appropriate. That probably does not contribute to my level of relatability here on the internet, but it's my personal truth. Hello friends, and welcome to the stunning Norwegian wilderness where I am surrounded by wild blueberries and fresh lingonberries and raspberries and a ton of mosquitoes in order to answer some fun questions for you to celebrate hitting 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Now, I hit this milestone a couple months ago. I put out a prompt, a poll here on YouTube asking for y'all's assumptions about me. Now, this is a common format here on YouTube. It's just another variety of the get to know me type video. It's fun for you, the viewer, because you get to learn a little bit more about me, the face behind the channel. But I find it's a little bit more interesting for me as well as the creator, because instead of just answering straight questions, I get to learn a little bit about your conceptions and misconceptions of me, and I just find that quite entertaining. So I put out that poll, and as it turns out, y'all are a little bit too nice, or perhaps just maybe a little bit unfamiliar with this format of video, because all of the responses I got were entirely too kind and wholesome to make for an interesting video. So I had to then go and ask for the same prompt on Instagram. I have taken all of the responses. I have cherry-picked the juiciest ones, the ones that will make the most interesting video, and I will be answering them here for you now. There are some renovation-related ones, there are some crafting and sewing related ones, there are some corgi-based questions, there are some purely personality-related ones. I think it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good time. I might piss off some people. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Although I should mention, obviously I am filming outside in the wilderness, so there will be a little bit of background noise, occasionally some wind. Trust me, I am doing my best to edit it out, but just bear with me. Okay, thanks, bye. Okay friends, starting off strong with assumption number one, which is you're starting to dislike renovation. Pretty spicy assumption here for somebody who just bought a house less than a year ago. That is a hard no. I am still as much in love with renovation as I always was. In fact, I am enjoying it more and more by the day. I do think that people have the impression maybe that I jumped in without any idea of what I was getting into, at least a certain subset of viewers that are leaving a certain kind of comment, which I don't think that I give this impression. I, in reality, was knowing exactly what I was getting into. I was very well prepared for this. I grew up in a fixer-upper. I am very comfortable with renovation. Not to say that I know everything, but I do have a fairly realistic grasp on what all is involved, and yet some people seem to have the impression that I just jumped in and watched too much HGTV and am now completely overwhelmed, which could not really be farther from the truth. I am very much enjoying the renovation and cannot wait actually to get back to it once I'm done here with this contract. Next up on the list is you make lists and then never check things off of them. How did you know? That is actually so true. I make tons and tons of lists because I find that they're a great way to clear my brain and organize my thoughts and make sure that I don't forget anything, because I've got so much stuff floating around up here between, you know, the renovation, all the rooms in the house, all the things that need to be done, the YouTube aspect of it and making videos and keeping in contact with sponsors and everything, and then also the performing and that aspect of the job, because we are entirely self-employed. I am doing all of the business for that as well and getting us hired and everything. So I've got so much stuff going on in my brain that if I don't write it down somewhere, I will absolutely forget it. But I don't actually need the dopamine of crossing it off the list. Like, that doesn't really do anything for my brain. However, I know that some of you really like it, so I will sometimes do it just for the sake of the video. So next time you see me crossing something off a list, you'll know that I'm doing it purely for your sake. Next, somebody wrote that nothing is too complicated if you want to do it. I feel like that is completely correct. I've always jumped into learning new skills with enthusiasm rather than trepidation. And I figure like if it's something that I am interested in learning, then it's worth taking the time to learn these new skills. Plus, I've definitely figured like if somebody ahead of me has already done it and proven that it can be a thing, then like I can definitely learn it too. However, I do know that not everybody throws themselves into new skills with such reckless abandon, which is why I continue to partner with today's sponsor, Craftsy, because they help to enable the creative process. So if you want to try something new, but maybe you want a more structured approach than blindly stumbling around YouTube, hoping to find a useful tutorial for whatever craft it is that you want to learn, then Craftsy's online courses might be exactly what you need to take the leap into learning that new skill. They've got tons of classes. They have more than 2,000 on their website in topics that range from all things fiber arts, crochet and knitting, to painting, photography, woodworking, and more. They've also got classes in different skill levels, so you can start off as a complete beginner, but as you progress, or if you're coming in and you already have some experience, you can continue to learn and develop your skills with their in-depth classes. So for example, if you've been around the channel for a couple of years, you'll know that I am super into cookie decorating. I did a bunch of corset cookies on the channel 2 winters ago, I think. And so this year I've queued up all their classes on cookie decorating just to add to my current repertoire, boost my skills a little bit, and learn some new techniques. All of these classes don't have to break the bank either, because the first 1,000 people to use my link will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. So if you want to level up your knitting game or learn crochet, maybe boost your cooking skills as we head into autumn and winter, or just learn a fun new skill to keep you busy for fall, be sure to use my link below and let your creativity flow. Next on the list, somebody submitted, you will knit before you watch TV. And honestly, often I'll do both. I tend to do them at the same time unless I'm working on a really complicated knitting pattern where I might tend to get lost and distracted. But I will also say that I do have the odd habit of crafting in complete silence. I'm just quite used to being alone with my thoughts. I haven't had a mobile phone for most of my adult life, at least not one that had a data plan or a phone number or any sort of useful Wi-Fi attached to it. So I never developed the habit of constantly having something in my ear. I will often just forget that I could be listening to something or watching something as I craft. So I will just sit there happily in silence for hours on end until suddenly I realize, like, actually, I have a really long queue of YouTube videos that I could be catching up on while I'm sewing or knitting or whatever it is. Although I will say I did ask for a bunch of podcast recommendations a few videos ago. Y'all delivered. You gave me a ton of recommendations to work with, so I will be sharing them with you in an upcoming video if you also would like to add to your growing collection of podcasts to listen to. The next person wrote, you're pretty chill until the commenters start trying to boss you around. I think that's pretty funny, and it's also pretty true because I do not generally take any crap on the channel, especially in the comment section. If somebody is going to sling snark at me, I will absolutely sling it right back at them. And this is an issue that is, I don't know, it's just generally prevalent on the internet in general. There is just kind of a lot of unsolicited advice and criticism and nasty comments that go around online. It is part of being a public figure online, but I will say it seems to be much more prevalent in the home renovation space than, say, the crafting space, because it's just a smaller population in general. The number of people that are interested in sewing and knitting is a heck of a lot smaller than the number of people that have lived in a home, have owned a home, have rented a home. So there's just a lot more people that have opinions that they would like to weigh in about, or tell you that you're doing things wrong, or give unsolicited advice. Oh, so much unsolicited advice. I could go on a whole rant about that, but I won't. I do think it is made worse because I am a woman taking up space online, and especially in a niche that is often more associated with the men. So that can be an interesting experience. I will say that sometimes people in the comments seem to think that the nasty comments are getting me down, or that I feel an urge to be out there and be people pleasing, which is so far from the truth that I can only imagine that these people are actually projecting themselves and their reactions onto me, because I am, in all honesty, a very selfish person. And I say that not even as a negative thing. I just mean I prioritize myself and my interests over the interests of some anonymous asshat leaving me a nasty comment online. No matter what I will be putting out into the universe, I can try to the best of my ability to be super clear about my meaning and my intentions, but I cannot guarantee how people on the other side of the screen will interpret it. And so there literally is no use in trying to please everyone, even if I wanted to, which I don't. People will always interpret things through their own lens, in their own twist, and sometimes their spin on things is very different than how I intend to put it out in the world. So I am not interested in people pleasing. The comments are not getting me down. I actually think the nastier they are, the funny they are to read, because it is just so much more a reflection on the person leaving the comment than on me, and it is kind of a source of entertainment. So if somebody is slinging some nasty snark at me, I just hit them back with the same thing and then see how they like a taste of their own medicine. Spoiler alert, usually they can't handle it. All right, the sun is slowly starting to come into my eyes, so let's relocate to another equally scenic but slightly shadier location. All right, so the next one says, "You rescued Canal?" Question mark. No, I wanted to. I spent a long time looking in shelters all across Canada. I even looked in US shelters that were close to the Canadian border, thought about trying to get a transport service, all kinds of things. But after several months of looking and not finding a suitable dog for, our circumstances, I ended up turning to Kijiji, which is where I got Canal. For my American viewers, that is the Canadian equivalent of Craigslist. And yeah, there was just this post. This family had not one but 2 litters of corgis, and let me just say that was a really interesting and fun experience, showing up to this random person's kitchen where there were 13 little tiny potatoes running around, and I basically had to choose one. All right, this one says, "You are exceptionally creative and willing to try the unknown in almost everything." I mean, yeah, like I said, if I'm interested in doing it, I figure it's worth learning. So I would say I am pretty much willing to try most things if I want to. Another fairly straightforward one, "You are crafty and handy." I mean, I would hope that would go without saying since my entire channel is based around that. So tentatively, yes. Ooh, this one is a good one. "You feel that appearing on camera / in photos online, makeup free, is a small rebellion against the patriarchy." I'm gonna answer no, just in that it was not such a conscious decision. I just can't be bothered to wear makeup in general. It is genuinely who I am. In fact, I think I am kind of just missing the gene for caring about how I look in public in general. I did my entire university career in sweatpants and pajamas, to the point that one day I did wear jeans to school, and I had so many people ask me why I was dressed up and did I have something special going on. So it was not a conscious decision. It was just, I knew that if I started a trend of putting on makeup to be on camera, it would not be sustainable. I wasn't interested in it. It didn't feel genuine to who I was. I literally saw no reason for me to start wearing makeup on camera when it's not something I do in my everyday life. This is not, however, me judging anybody who does wear makeup on camera or in their everyday life. I do think society has a very hypocritical double standard in that they expect women to look a certain way and look presentable, quote unquote, a word that I hate, and yet they then deem anybody who is actually very passionate about makeup to be just childish and stupid and a waste of time, because oftentimes things that are traditionally associated as being women's passions are denigrated by society, by the patriarchy. So this is not me saying that you should not wear makeup and that I think you are stupid if you want to, do this in your everyday life or for your own channel. It is simply just my personal, I have other things I would so much rather be spending time on than putting on makeup for my normal everyday life and for you. So not a conscious act of rebellion against the patriarchy. And I will say that I have only gotten a very few comments on my appearance. In the 4 years that I've been on YouTube, it is actually a shockingly little amount compared to all the other nasty stuff I get, because I do get tons of nasty stuff. If you follow me on Instagram, you will know that occasionally I share the nasty ones and we all laugh at how ridiculous it is. But only a couple on my skin, and I think actually none ever on makeup specifically. So that was very fun. A pleasant little surprise in this era of internet nastiness. Somebody here thinks that I'm fun, independent, and possibly a little bit introverted. Yes, on all three counts, or at least on the independent and a little bit introverted for sure. Although, as Charlie from the Stitchery once told me, it's actually, I am an extroverted introvert. So I'm not socially awkward. I am quite at ease around people. Like, I'm meeting new people all the time for my job. It's just that my social battery is quite short, much more than actual extroverts. So, you know, I like to recharge my batteries frequently. There is a girl here on contract who literally draws energy from being around other people, and that is a very foreign concept to me. So I think it's kind of a spectrum between complete introvert and complete extrovert, and I am, you know, somewhere in the middle, but slightly leaning towards the introvert side. I do think it kind of ties in pretty nicely to this next one though. Somebody said, goes to bed early, wakes up early, which yes, that is very true. So if your idea of fun is like staying up till 2 a.m. partying, I am very much not fun, because I am often up completely without an alarm between 5:30 and 6 most mornings. And then I also go to bed quite early. So yeah, your definition of fun is really going to depend on, oh, that was a giant fish. Very cool. I just saw a fish jump like maybe this high out of the water. I saw the whole fish. Very cool. That's my idea of fun. Can we stay for one more? I think we can stay for one more. You curse in multiple languages. Yes, so I absolutely do. And sorry, not sorry if you're one of the people that is offended if I curse in even one language, because I often will be cursing in English and French, occasionally in Italian. They've got some fun ones. And oh, there's another fish. And Russian occasionally, just because, you know, why not? I do try not to curse on the channel too much, but it is not out of respect for the pearl clutchers. It is partly just to make my channel more friendly to advertisers, and also because I know that some of you are watching my videos with your family, and that this often includes young children. So I will try to be respectful to the children out there. But if you're an adult and you can't handle the fact that I swear, you might not enjoy it on my channel long term. We had another relocation, and actually as I was walking over here, I was thinking about something else that might kind of tie into that last point, and that is basically that I often get comments from people telling me that I should change who I am in order to make my channel more appealing to the masses. And this always makes me laugh so hard, because I'm like, why would I want to go out of my way to be somebody who I'm not in order to attract more people to my channel who inevitably are not the type of people that I am interested in engaging with? Like, I am quite, oh, look at this beautiful flower that keeps bouncing in and out of screen. Very fun. Don't know what it's called, but it sure is pretty. Anyway, back to my original point. It's just gonna hang out there. Back to my original point. Yeah, I'm more interested in building a community here on YouTube, even if it is a smaller community, which kind of by necessity it needs to be, but of people who are similar to me, are like-minded, have similar interests, similar attitudes, similar viewpoints on the world, which is not to say that I need it to be an echo chamber per se. I do think that there should be interesting discussion, but I also feel like I would rather, you know, foster a community of people that have more or less the same attitudes on being respectful of creators and respecting old houses and recycling instead of buying new when possible, all that kind of stuff. It always makes me giggle whenever somebody says like, oh, you should really just be very generic and boring and appealing to the masses and not state your opinions as you actually feel them, because then you can get more of that sweet, sweet YouTube money. And I'm like, not that interested in it. All right, that was quite a tangent. Let's see what, let's get back onto the assumptions. Okay, doing a sharp 180 and touching on something way more lighthearted and superficial. Somebody wrote, you like your hair down, but because you're so active, you wear it up so you won't get injured. And no, that is funny because it is so incredibly inaccurate. I hate having my hair down. I really do not enjoy it, and I only wear it down after it's freshly washed just to let it dry out, because I also cannot be bothered to spend time hair drying it with the blow dryer. But short hair is a ton of maintenance. It's actually way more maintenance than long hair, so I keep it at a length that requires the least amount of daily work and maintenance from it, and that involves waking up and instantly throwing it into a ponytail and leaving it there until the end of the day when I take it down to sleep. So, hate to break any illusions here, but I have no love for the long hair or wearing it down. Next assumption, Canal made you a dog person. No, actually, I've always owned dogs. I have always gotten along better with dogs than people. I feel like I have a very good grasp of kind of what makes dogs tick, their behavior. I have always owned dogs my whole life. More than one, frequently. So no, Canal did not make me a dog person. I was a dog person beforehand. However, Canal did make Phil a dog person. He was very much a cat person when I met him. I also like cats. I like all animals, but if I had to choose, I'm much more of a dog person, and now Phil is too. You have always been a reader. Yes, actually, that is very true. I was reading Nancy Drew's, the old-fashioned, the original Nancy Drew books in kindergarten. I read insanely fast. I love reading. Some of my best memories from childhood are like taking a good book, going on the sofa on a sunny day, in the middle of the day, you know, childhood life with no responsibilities, and just sitting on the couch and reading for hours in the sun, and then inevitably that would usually finish with a little daytime nap on the couch as well. So yeah, I do love reading. I still manage to do it fairly frequently considering how busy I am, and I do, as you see, sometimes bring it onto the channel, much to the chagrin of certain viewers, which then brings me actually to an interesting digression, my second one of this location, if you will. I got a comment from somebody saying, please consider making separate book club posts on one of the videos where I did a little book review. And to that, I will say that I do consider pretty much every aspect of my video when I am making them. It's funny that she thinks that I did not consider whether I should keep this in the video, make a separate video for it. It was a very conscious decision, as are most of the decisions in my videos. I have been making videos on YouTube for about 4 years. I made them for many years before that, just purely for me, for recreation. I have established a style that I like. I have fine-tuned it a lot over my years here on YouTube. And there will always be some variety in my videos because I am a person with a wide amount of interests. So if you don't like the book reviews, that's totally fine. There aren't that many of them. There's one every like 10 videos maybe. Just skip past them. They're quite short. It's, 5 seconds out of your life to skip forward a few minutes. Not every aspect of every video of mine will be to your liking. That is very normal and natural, but asking me to change my content to suit your personal tastes is not appropriate. I really like this next one, and that is that even if your budget was higher, you would still probably wait to find things secondhand. And I would say definitely in large part that is probably true. I have always thrifted. It is a very natural part of who I am. It's not like a facade or an act I put on for the channel. I will say that I do also enjoy buying new things when the situation requires it, like especially something as big as the house renovation will require plenty of new purchases, and there are certain circumstances where buying new is actually going to be more sustainable than trying to do the same thing poorly with thrifted or secondhand items. I think those instances are not very often, but there are certain situations where it's like, no, it's actually better to, you should probably just buy the correct thing, even if it means buying it new instead of trying to thrift it. But where possible, I do generally love to recycle and reuse. I love thrifting. It's like one of my favorite sports. Absolutely amazing. So yes, even if I had a really high budget, I would still probably trying to incorporate a lot of thrifting and secondhand stuff. Also, my battery is about to run out, so I will see you in a new location with a fresh battery. Okay, fresh location, fresh battery, and fresh assumption, because this one, somebody said you secretly like last-minute projects and makes. That is a hard no from me. I actually really enjoy planning things out and taking my time. Although actually, I guess maybe I should kind of clarify, because I don't mind adding a project to my queue rather unexpectedly. Like, that doesn't bother me. I'm doing it all the time. I kind of see something, get inspired, and I'm like, ooh, I want to do that now. Let's do it. What I don't love, and what this assumption kind of, the wording of it kind of implies, that I will also need to be finishing something for a deadline, and that's what I don't like. I really don't like rushing projects to get them done, because for me, first of all, as I've said many times on the channel, I like crafting, especially for the process, for the journey, oftentimes more than the destination. If you want to know a fun fact about me, the thing I think I've knitted the most is just knit fabric. I would literally just sit and knit to have something to do with my hands, but it wouldn't be a specific project, and then I would just unravel it, because I just like the action of making something, being busy with my hands, and it doesn't need to be for a thing to have a final product. Although, I mean, it does feel more rewarding sometimes to have a final destination, something you can use at the end of it all, but it's not necessary for me. So that's one reason that I don't necessarily like rushing things, but also because I really take pride and pleasure in doing something well. And when you're rushing to get things done for a deadline, you're often being sloppy, you're cutting corners, or if you're not, you're feeling really stressed because you're not sure if you're going to get it done. So that is why I do not like last-minute projects. Now, some of you may be wondering, but Shannon, where are all the circus-related assumptions? And I have to say, I actually did not get any when I put out this prompt, but I do get some kind of sprinkled in my comments here and there. A lot of y'all are actually quite curious about it, and that led me to realize that the labeling of my videos does not make it super clear when there is a bunch of circus in the video itself, because it is often really rolled in with a bunch of other crafting or sewing-related content. So what I've done is I have made an entire playlist of videos where circus features quite prominently in them. So if you want to know more about the circus side of me, that is where you should look. Okay, this next one sparked a whole big discussion on Instagram, and it was the assumption you have a ton of siblings. And actually I got a whole bunch of these from people who either assumed that I had a bunch of siblings, or assumed, well, actually nobody really assumed that I was an only child, but I did get a lot of people weighing in on whether they think that I am the oldest child, the middle child, the youngest child, am I an only child? So I did put a poll up on Instagram. I have the results, but I'm actually not going to share them with you yet, because I don't want to influence the community here on YouTube, because they are kind of separate. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to do a community post in a couple days here on YouTube. Keep your eyes out for that. We can compare the results from YouTube to the results on Instagram, and then I'll give you the real answer, and I'll do all of this in a follow-up video, because this video is coming to an end. I will have to do another one because I have so many really fun other ones, submissions that I got. I'll read you a couple of them here just to kind of tease the next one. So some really fun ones that I enjoyed were, you really wanted to be an engineer or a scientist but weren't good at math. Rude. You have a specific camera persona that you put on for YouTube. You have many ideas and would like to do them all by yourself without anyone interfering. That one's kind of funny. And if you weren't a circus artist, you would have a dog rescue instead. And then someone else had one along these lines, but it was that I would start a secondhand shop instead. So Next time I do a video like this, I will answer some of those, but I will also maybe incorporate some of your assumption as well. So next time I put out a community post asking for your assumptions about me, hopefully now that you've understood the concept and that it's not a personal attack on me, it's just a fun way to make a really casual, fun video so you can get to know me a bit better. Now you can submit some questions. So that's all for this one. And if you enjoyed this kind of informal session, you want to learn even more about me, I would recommend this video as well. Okay, starting off strong with this first, wind. Not starting off strong at all. So many mosquitoes out here. Some people really don't like getting a taste of their own medicine. Oh, I'm getting eaten alive. This is why we need spiders, because there are too many mosquitoes in this world and they all love me.